when we're like shameful of certain things, we're not sharing something because we're afraid of what someone else might say or do. We're afraid that we're going to lose the connection if we're going to speak our fears, if we're going to say something that, you know, we're shameful of, or like something like that. And actually, it's the other way around. If we share the deepest parts of our heart, if we show vulnerability, then actually we create deeper connection.
Yeah, it's massive. And I mean, we spoke about this on Friday, right? Of like our partners being particularly good at inviting that authenticity from us, the parts of us that we've felt ashamed or embarrassed to reveal, or felt, whatever, in whatever way, like weird, or, you know, not man enough. And it has a very profound effect, right? When someone says, like, I want to know who you are, and not if the presented image or idea of who you think I want you to be. Yeah.
Just drop the masks.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's really been a wonderful journey with like that for myself with my girlfriend, where I really noticed like she's just constantly inviting me to bring more of myself. And not in a sense of pressuring, or like, it's just by being her. There's just this energy. There's just this, it's just this something that's disarming, that's really pure and open. And I just feel like, it's actually okay to share that I'm really afraid right now, or that I'm ashamed of, you know, who I used to be, or what I've done, or even some feelings I have now, or like just bringing that in. And I'd love to hear from you and explore with you like the things that, you know, the women in our lives have taught us about life, like, because I know there's a lot there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, BA for me has done that immensely. I remember, I think I told you probably before, but I remember sitting watching the night sky with her in my apartment, and we were in silence, and then she said to me, "Can I say something?" And I said, yeah. She said, "I have a fear." I was like, "Okay." She said, "I'm afraid that you're not going to tell me everything, and that you're going to then distance yourself from me." And I let that land, and I was like, "I do that. That's exactly what I do." Yeah, and you know, I see it in my parents, and you know, the conversations that aren't being had, and it was just like, okay, it was that. She didn't tell me to do anything, like you said. She didn't say, you know, "You're not being honest with me." She said, I feel afraid. She opened herself up and said, "Look, this is what's in me." And then in that moment, it was an invitation for me to check in with, okay, what haven't I said? And it's this like horrible, like nausea feeling of like, this is the difficult conversation, right? The things that aren't being said, and the shame that comes with it. And to try and remember, I think at that time, one of the things that I felt was like, I needed more. I wanted more silence. I wanted more space. I wanted things to feel slower. I wanted to feel more kind of intimate and sensual, not necessarily physically, but also just in the kind of way we were together. And I find that there's a lot that can be said without words that is missed when we are talking with words. And now as I'm talking about it, I realized that I felt shame about that, because it was like I wasn't manly enough to handle it and to be with, you know, her, and to say like, can we not talk so much? It felt like me doing that and be like, I feel overwhelmed. And you know, and so I was like, well, you know, I can't say that. I can't say like, oh, I don't like it when you talk so much. And that was like the shame of like, who am I? Like, how can, you know, who am I as a man if I can't just like be with that, and like, oh, I'm oversensitive, or I'm asking for too much. And
but it's also about how you frame it, right? So like, would you just like, if you go into that voice, if you like in that energy, if you like sort of like blaming almost someone for doing something that they're naturally doing, instead of expressing what you would really love to feel, it's a very different thing.
Definitely, that's it. And when like, that's the voice inside of me that feels ashamed, right? It's like, oh, you know, you can't be a pussy, and Yeah, and like, come on, man, like, you know, don't ask her to change in any way. But actually, what was beautiful was that when the request came, I said, oh, look, actually, I would love for us to be able to be intimate in silence. I'd love for us to be able to have conversations without words. Then actually invited her to see parts of her that she was afraid of in those moments of awkward silences, you know, or of finding deeper parts of herself, or allowing the thoughts and feelings that come up in those spaces. So then it brought just so much more richness for both of us in the end. But yeah, it really, for me, has happened in what could seem like quite banal things, like, hey, I would love to be in more silence, which is simple, but it definitely brought up so much. But then she appreciated that, and we had a conversation about it, and it then created more depth in our relationship, more trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There's one instance of like really radical honesty that I want to share, and I've got Bia's permission to explore this, to share it. But it was to kind of illustrate the level of radical authenticity that Bia brings to the relationship in a way that I've never experienced. So we went to a friend's brunch on the Saturday. Beautiful time. She was getting to know my friends at this point, so we're kind of still new in the relationship. And then there's one guy who comes into the brunch. He comes late, and he's just been surfing with his buddy. And like, he comes in, he's got this like beautiful charismatic energy, and he's high-fiving people as he comes in, and he's a good buddy of mine. And then Bia is chatting with him, and they're just having a great vibe and laughing and joking around. And then when we come back from the brunch, we're driving home, she's like, wow, like that guy's got like such an amazing energy. Like, he's just so like radiant. And I was like, yeah, like cool dude. And then I was like, oh, it's funny because there was a thing with my ex and him, and it kind of was a little bit like where she tried to use him as a way to get back at me after we broke up. And then Bia was like, kind of felt like, oh, okay.
Oh, you shared that with her?
I shared that with her, yeah. And then I noticed Bia having some reaction, but I was like, okay. I kind of didn't mention the thing. And then the next day, we had just finished making love, and there's this kind of like moment of stillness, and we're just like holding each other, and she says, can I ask you something? I was like, yeah. And she was like, I just feel I have to ask you this because I can feel scared to ask you, and that's the cue to ask. So this is the switch of radical authenticity, is when I feel afraid, that's my cue to share. Wow. And she said, do you ever think about anyone else when we make love? I was like, okay. I was like, you know, like, I don't think I have with you, although it's possible, but I don't think I have. But in previous relationships, I definitely have, in times where we haven't been that connected, or when, I've not been turned on. So then I go to a mental image so that I can simulate myself for something like this.
Yeah.
What about you? She was like, yeah. She was like, I just have to like be honest, like the image of your friend came to my mind when you were going down on me. And I was like, wow, okay. So there's two things that happened in that moment. One was this surprisingly big sense of joy, because in that moment I understood I can trust you. Like, I can really trust you because I know where you're at. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're feeling. I can be with that. So there was this like, wow, like I've never experienced such an openness and a willingness to say the scary things, to say like, this is me, this is who I am, this is where I'm at. So it was like, okay, I love that you shared it. And then obviously the second thing that came up was like, fuck. I'm like, right, like ego, like, okay, what does this mean? And, you know, the whole like myriad of thoughts that came up about, what does this mean about a relationship? What does this mean about who I am? And again, my sufficiency of a man, of being able to be enough for her not to have to think or worry or, you know, be attracted to anybody else ever. And it was just then, again, a fantastic opportunity to take a look at ourselves and understand, okay, where do we go from here? And so it was challenging, man. You know, like I went through these kind of waves of, okay, there's nothing personal, and she's just has an attraction, and that's totally allowed, to like, I have to break up with this woman because, you know, I feel like, yeah, how can I be in a relationship when I feel like she might go off or I'm not enough? And it was about like 2 days of us talking and figuring things out. And then I came back from work and she said, you know, I want to sit down with you and talk about it again. So I thought about it, and she's like, I allowed myself to feel what I felt without shame and asked myself, do I really want to explore that attraction? She said, in the moment that she was allowing herself to explore it, the desire went away. I was like, okay. And I heard that, and a part of me was like, is that her just trying to give me what I want? Or is it real? And I said, okay, well, let's keep the door open and see if the attraction is there. And after that day, I checked in with her again. She's like, I haven't even thought about him. And it was just this idea of like the forbidden fruit. And that was the kind of image of the guy that she imagined before. So it was amazing because now I know where she's at. I know that she'll tell me these things. I know that there's no secrets in our relationship. So it did something very powerful for us. And for myself to look at myself and, you know, be invited to do the healing and the work to be okay with myself, even if my partner has an attraction for somebody else. Beautiful.
Yeah, I have not necessarily super similar, but similar in depth. Like, and I don't necessarily have permission, so I won't share it. But there are these moments exactly when I really felt as well, like, if you're willing to be this open, I know that, like, you know, I'm all in.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can like stop me from committing.
Yeah.
If we keep being honest. And also one thing I really love about, I don't believe that we can control, like we chose the feelings, but we do choose how to like, do we express them or not? Do we like talk about it? Do we, you know, what are we doing? Like, so you can't necessarily control that you have like certain feelings for someone, but you can control, am I bringing it into the relationship? Am I being honest to myself? Am I being honest to my partner? Am I acting out fantasies, or is it just in my head, or do I like, you know, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot there, like there where you can really make the decision yourself into how do I want to show up in a relationship.